republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
That's it. Let's just sit down. Our Heavenly Father, Lord, we thank you for this opportunity to come together as a team and as a unit. Lord, be with each and every one of us as we go forward making decisions for the children of this district. Lord, we thank you for all the glory and the kindness and the grace that you show us in our lives. Give us of the many times we fall short. In thy name I pray. Amen.
Moving on to proposed executive session to discuss employees who have been issued a handgun license pursuant to the Oklahoma Self-Defense Act and have completed armed security guard training program as provided in 59 OS Section 1750.5 or a reserve police officer training program as provided in 70 OS Section 3311 to be allowed to carry a weapon on school premises. This authority is provided to the Board of Education via 21 OS Section 1280.1 and 70 OS Section 5-149.2. The identities of such personnel shall be maintained as confidential pursuant to 51 OS Section 224A .7. This executive session is authorized by 25 OS Section 307B7 and 51 OS Section 24A.28. I will make a motion to go into executive session. Do I have a second? Ms. Pugh?
Mr. Salzman?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mrs. Tribby?
Yes.
Mr. Fields?
Yes.
And it is 6:02 and we are in executive session.
Good morning and welcome back to MHS.
I'm really sleepy. Okay. The identities of these employees will be maintained as confidential as per 51 OS Section 24A.28, and that during the executive session, only these matters were discussed by the board. No action was taken, and the board has returned to open session at 6:23 p.m. This constitutes the minutes of the executive session. Okay. 7, vote to approve arming 3 employees to carry a handgun on school premises in compliance with 21 OS Section 1280.1 and 70 OS Section 5-149.2. The identities of these employees will be maintained as confidential as per 51 OS Section 24A.28. The board hereby authorizes the administration to list the names of those employees approved in this item by the board and place said list in a confidential sealed envelope that will not be a public record. I will take motion to vote on this item about arming 3 employees to carry the handgun. I'll accept a motion.
I'll make the motion.
Do I have a second? I'll second.
I'll
Okay.
second.
Mr. Johnson, okay, go ahead, Ms. Hughes.
Mr. Salzman?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson? Mrs. Tribby?
Yes.
Mr. Fields?
Yes.
8, board reports, there are none. 9, superintendent reports. 9.1, executive director of athletics report, Singleton.
I can just talk about it. There it goes, okay. He's gone to the AV conference, that's why he's not here. He says that we recently promoted Courtney Bashirs to head basketball coach. Courtney's been a longtime assistant, and we're excited about her being our head basketball coach. She has already taken the girls to Cushing for a team camp, and this week they're at Fort Gibson. Also able to bring back Ashley Todd as the high school girls soccer coach. Ashley was also an assistant. She took a year off, but we're glad to have her back. She has a busy summer schedule already going for those girls. All Sports Summer Pride started last week. 362 students and athletes are participating in 3 sessions that are offered daily over the summer. One thing I saw, they posted Athlete of the Week for like every sport last week after that first week. So that's on the athletics page, so I thought that was really cool. He says it's going to be a busy summer for coaches and student athletes as they prepare for the 24-25 school year. Oh, now it's working.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to executive director of curriculum instruction, Mrs. Rodriguez.
Okay, so basically on the June campus counts, all I did was move the numbers from May to June. We don't have a lot of movement, so you may see that K4 says 77, that's because they haven't had those numbers in Power School yet. So that'll be closer to around 180, 190 in August. But if you look at the second page I sent you, and this is something that every month I try to report to you, but I'm gonna try to do this to you every month. This is where our movers and shakers, I guess I could call them, for the last year have gone, exiting and entering. So you can kind of see we've had 334 exit and 212 enter, and some were the same students that would leave, move somewhere, come back. But just to kind of monitor, where are they going in Pittsburgh County versus where are they going to an Epic or an online charter, and then are they going to other schools not on the outside of Pittsburgh County? So you guys can kind of look at that. But do you have any questions on those?
It's interesting.
Yeah, it really is, especially if you start looking back and forth. And when I looked at the Pittsburgh County school district map, Clayton, I had to look at it about 5 times to think that am I reading this right, that Clayton School District is in our county. Just a very tiny bit of it, but that seems like that's very far away from here for it to be in Pittsburgh County. But it's kind of good to see where are they moving in our county, because those would be the ones that I would say we would be not necessarily competing against, but they're close enough they could be going here versus there. So.
Any questions? Okay. Yeah. Mrs. Sonntag?
Good evening. So I'm gonna start with our revenue for the year that we've collected up through May. That's the second page of the report. For our general fund, we have collected for the year $28,654,168.11 total. But if you look at the front page at the ad valorem, last year we collected $3,865,753. And this year, same time, we've already collected over $4 million. So, our ad valorem has gone up. For this year, we collected more than we anticipated, so that's always a good thing. I did get a letter today where about 400,000 to 500,000 of protested ad valorem so far, which is pretty typical, but that means we haven't collected that where businesses in the area have protested their taxes, so they haven't paid any of their property taxes yet this year. So we could be getting more, or it could be another 2 years before we get that. It just kind of depends on what is decided in the court system. Gross production on the 3000s is down from last year. Listening to all the people who are in the know and that know how to do that even more than we do, we knew it was going to be down, we just didn't know how much. So it's pretty close to $400,000 down. So that was expected, and I had planned for that. And then on state revenue, foundation salary, we got our foundation salary went up about $2 million, and so we collected $13,752,368 $85. It'll be about 15.2 at the end of this fiscal year. So they just sent the deposits out the day before yesterday, I think. They go off like at 3 o'clock in the morning in my email. It's a good time. We're right on target for collections. There's still quite a bit in federal programs to be collected. We haven't collected any 795 or 511, so that's Title I money, which is our 2 biggest funds for the month of April or May. There were some corrections that had to be made, and so on our just coding, so we got those corrected and they've been submitted again. We're just waiting for them to come through. So if you look at the first page, which is the regular board report, our total revenue in our general fund is $31,599,957.61. The hopes is to have around 33 by the end of the year, and then we'll have some that'll come in the summer. So again, we're right on target for that. If you look at the expenditures in salaries, almost 21 million, which is up from last year, which was 19,622,000 and some change. We knew that was going to be so because of teacher raises and support raises that we gave. But if you look at the expenditures for this year in non-salary, it's $3,412,349. This year, that's what we've done so far, but this time last year, it was over $6 million. So you can see where we've really cut back on our expenditures in the non-salary portion to try to make up for some of that code money that wasn't going to be used. So we're working really hard still to do that. We do have quite a bit more encumbered for this year in salary as well as non-payroll. Most of that is curriculum that we've gotten some extra supplemental curriculum that we've used out of Title I. Also for Indian Ed has done quite a lot for the end of the year because they have to expend all their money. In this year, we can't carry it over. And same thing with Title I, we needed to expend a certain amount, and Project Prevent also needed to have a lot of training over the summer, and so a lot of that added that we haven't, paid yet is from those things that are gonna be happening this summer. And then, again, we also bought new computers for our teachers and new computers for all our offices. So that's also in there. So we have a lot of really cool things going on for the summer that, account for the rest of those expenditures. Building fund's still growing strong. We're, working on a bunch of projects, trying to get things caught up and repaired. We do have a lot of insurance claims going on right now from the flooding and from the freeze, that was in January. So we're looking to recoup a lot of the things for S-Arch. And, I don't know if you know, our electric buses got flooded. And that's a whole lot of money. But, the adjuster's coming down this week, and so we should be recouping all of that as well. All except for $1,000, because that's our deductible for, automobiles and buses. But we have a lot of really good things happening, a lot of work going on this summer, a lot of painting. So our building fund will be put to good use this summer. And then lastly, if you look at the treasurer's statement, I think I took it out. So, minus the outstanding warrants that we still have out for the month, we have $14,954,339.84 in our bank account. If we're comparing this year to last year, we're down about $1 million, but that's to be expected because we don't have the same reimbursements coming in that we had last year. So, but if I look historically, which I can actually look at the treasurer's statements historically, pre-COVID, we're doing really well. We're still up from pre-COVID, what it would have been in 2020. Yeah, that would have been pre-COVID. Or actually during COVID, the beginning of COVID, we're really comparable to that time. So, does anybody have any questions?
In regards to the flood at the bus barn, has anybody reached out to the city about cleaning the ditch out?
Yes.
I know that Casey's been after them for several years about getting something done.
Casey's been after him. I left 2 messages this last week trying to get somebody to do something. I drove by on Sunday when the gully washer was coming down, and the fire department was parked right on top of the ditch where the drainage was. So I don't know if I started to turn, it was raining so hard, that's why I didn't, because I didn't want to get out in it. But they were sitting right on top of it, so I wondered if they were sitting there monitoring, because it was odd. It was just, like the truck, not a fire truck, but just their truck was sitting there, like they were monitoring the waters. So,
We had a conversation with the city, I don't remember what day, but they came up here on a separate issue, and we were able to discuss some back and forth issues, that being one of them. And I think
they're aware, let's put it that way. They're aware, they haven't done anything yet. But you can,
We need a new mayor.
you can see if you go look, because I went and walked, I'm trying to divert attention from you, Lord.
the first lady.
I went and walked in it and you can see where it's bent and crushed, and then there's just stuff shoved in there and stuff. That's why it doesn't drain.
You went and walked in it when it was full of water?
I did.
With crawdad hunting or what?
Well,
That's what we did when I was a kid.
well, that's what I did too. But
So,
just because I'm nosy and I want to know what's wrong, I'm that person, I can't help it.
I'm wondering if the county floodplain administrator could help us at all, get that ball rolling. I don't know, I mean, I don't know exactly what, if there's anybody up there anymore, but I know one time there was a county floodplain administrator that looked at those things.
Well, I was approached to be on that committee, but since I don't live in the district, I haven't heard back from them since then.
Okay.
So, but I do have the contact for them, so I'm gonna call. and see what I can find out.
It never hurts because video footage of the big flood before was pretty wild.
Yeah, when the adjuster came down to look at the buildings, I climbed on so many roofs, and you should have told me I looked like, oh, no, I'm not gonna say that out loud, that could be offensive. I had on a long dress and tennis shoes,
It was wild.
and climbing on on top of all the roofs, but, he came and he did, moisture tests, and most of our buildings were great. There were a few things in the new building that were not, because, you know, that whole bottom part flooded. But he said that we really need to look at repairing the bus barn, was the one that was the worst. But he said, remarkably, y'all did a really good job when y'all cleaned up on your own, because he said it's not that much moisture for where I could see all the water that had come in the building, because you could see where it went up to. Because either marks on the wood, or like the new stairs in the junior high, the wood is warped at the bottom. And he said there was no moisture. We dried it out really, really well. He was really impressed.
We need to let PC know.
Yeah. Yeah, I know Paul and I got to Randy Hughes first, and I got there and I said, okay, the little spot is not a little spot. And it was, the whole bottom was flooded. And so I had taken a big DeWalt shot back, and I shot back out 5 buckets in just one little area by myself. And then,
So, I'd heard that the drain wasn't to code, or wasn't like it was supposed to be in the blueprint. So who's responsible for fixing that? That shouldn't be on our insurance, right? That should be on the contractor or subcontractor.
I haven't heard anything recently, have you?
No, I haven't.
So they're supposed to come back and address fixing the drain, bringing it up to whatever the drawings were. Casey and them did go and clean it out. We've left the drain open, and there were just some random things that were in it, like covering the drain. So that's not on us, but I haven't heard anything when they're coming yet.
There were some putty knives in there.
Well, so from my understanding, and maybe I'm wrong, if I am, that's okay, but the drain was supposed to be a lot bigger than what the water
Right.
was.
Yeah, it's
It's supposed to be
To
6.
carry all the water?
It was supposed to be 6.
They're supposed to come back and redo that themselves.
Okay,
We
so
didn't-
how does that, we have to pay the insurance deductible, right?
Right.
Is that not something that should fall back on a contractor or a subcontractor issue, that we shouldn't have to pay for that part?
Well, some of it will, but, the insurance is calling them to start working out that process.
Okay,
But,
so before we write a check as a school,
Right.
we're gonna
Right.
let them find
right,
Okay.
at least on that part.
it out. Okay.
There's a whole lot of other parts that,
I agree. I just, when I saw the footage
Listen.
of that, I thought, and then when you realize things weren't done the way they were supposed to be done, I thought that should exclude us as a district from writing a check until.
that's all worked out.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, trust me, I've already fought with almost every insurance company that is attached to the school this year, and I've decided they don't like to hear my voice anymore. Because I'm just that irritating, I guess. So far, I've gotten everything I've asked for. It took me a year to get one of them, but I got it. I had to fight her out for a year, but I got what we were entitled to, so, sometimes it's just being loud enough and irritating enough, and I'll let you have what you want.
Well, I appreciate that. Good job.
Does anybody have any other questions? Thank you.
Ms. Meadows?
The one thing that I wanted to say tonight is that we have not had, we've had some resignations and things like that, but we've been able to replace, and we've, some of those places where we use some of that COVID money, people resigned, we're putting other people that we already have in those spots, so we're sitting pretty good right now. We still have a few openings, but not a ton, so we've got interviews going on all the time, and seem to be filling those pretty well, so we're on the right track.
I will, maybe, I thought she might talk about it, but, plan for opening the employee daycare,
Oh, Baby Buff Daycare?
Baby Buff Daycare. We will finally got the okay because of all the building and code and everything that's required. And then we're going to hire a director, and we go from there. We've got a survey out for employees, and I think it's going to be a heck of a product.
The fact that we had Choctaw Nation in for the end of the year, we let them come in and have their head start in. Well, they were able to, DHS did all the walkthroughs and all the licensing for them, so we're able to just piggyback right off of that. We don't have to
Wow, that's
do
great.
all that, so that's really, really good.
Awesome. All right. Do you have anything else? Just baby buff baker?
Baby Buff.
Okay.
We'll go Baby Buff.
All right, thank you, guys. Moving on, the following matters, the statement of consent agenda, the following matters may be approved in their entirety by the board upon motion made, seconded, and passed by a majority vote of the board members. However, upon request of any board member, any one or more of said matters will be removed from the consent agenda and acted upon separately. So we all get this again, we did this prior to our meeting. Does anyone want anything taken off?
I'd like to move 11.14, please.
11.14. And Ms. View, you'll have to help remind me, this is when we start discussing?
You can go ahead and discuss the item at hand, or you can go ahead and approve the rest of the consent and then discuss the item.
Okay, let's go ahead and I'll make the motion to approve the rest of the consent agenda except 11.14. Do I have a second?
I'll say.
Mrs. View?
Mr. Thompson?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mrs. Tree?
Yes.
Mr. Fields?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Johnson, you want to go ahead?
Yes, 11.14 is the contract with the CACS Properties Consulting, and I'm just curious, is this a needed service? And if it is a needed service, I personally would like to see it to be a much more detailed contract, because it looks to me like all we're getting is advice, and whether they're working 5 minutes or 100 hours, we're paying them the same amount of money regardless. So those are my main questions. Is it needed? If so, can we get more detail?
Well, I'll start with this. Number one, do I think it's needed? Absolutely. It's still needed? Yes.
I'll say the reasons I think why, because he works primarily with me, is that there's no institutional knowledge with a lot of things that had happened, like luckily we're out of the bond mostly now. I mean, the construction for the bond. And, but there are some lease purchases that they started and did different things with, and so, that would be part of the thing. But just like Sunday, I came up and worked on Sunday, and I got to a certain point, and I could find why my numbers weren't matching on something, but I couldn't figure out what had happened, why they weren't matching still. And he came up, and it was a mistake not a mistake, but it was something that had happened in 2021, and he remembered what it was. And so it was how it was corrected later that made my numbers not match, but it took me asking him to come and look at it to figure out what it was, that it's something that happened in 2021 that was still affecting our totals in 2024. So I will say that's the good thing, but I do agree, I really agree that it should be a set amount of time, like an hourly wage, more.
And kind of to go off what Sean said, you know, the thing that concerned me is it said there's a dollar amount per year to be invoiced and paid in monthly installments unless other arrangements are made mutually and agreed upon. Like what Sean said, you know, can we justify that total amount paid in monthly installments whether or not we use it that month, or can it be set up as a
bill.
as needed? To me,
I like what both of you are saying.
Yeah,
you know, I don't know as a district that, I understand it's needed, and I don't want your job by any means. See, I don't, because there's a lot of numbers that come through it, and there's a lot of things. But can we justify a monthly fee when maybe that month it's not utilized?
Right.
You know, and I think for us as a district where it says unless other arrangements are made, I don't know what those other arrangements are. But I like that option more than I do a monthly installment when I don't know. So is it something that, who would discuss those other arrangements
We would.
before we
Yeah. Yeah.
say yes?
Well, here's what I would suggest. Table that. Just don't vote on it. So
Okay.
it's not, it doesn't become a valid contract.
Okay.
We will take it, we will have the discussion. I like better the,
Like an hourly wage.
we'll find a fair market at hourly rate. And when the system's used, we'll requisition those number of hours times that amount of money.
Okay.
I think that's better.
Is that a better-
Yeah, I think it
Right.
would be a cost savings, and not that it's not a needed service, but to lump that's a pretty good chunk of change. Not that it's not worth it at all, but there are months that you're not gonna need them, and as you grow, you're gonna grow into your position and hopefully not need that all the time, and I just feel like if we lump ourselves into that, I kind of agree with Sean and Cameron, if we do it maybe just a base contract when it's billed upon monthly, and maybe even it says not exceed, you know, I don't know.
I'd like to, not to exceed
Right.
X amount of money,
Right.
but charge that blah, blah, blah.
Right.
I like that verbiage a little better. It's a little better for us.